On this episode of Carnage, we take my freshly supercharged Torana to the drags. Last episode we took my LC GTR Torana to MotorX in Melbourne with the aim of waking up the injected 5-litre Holden V8 by plonking a Harrop TVS 2300 blower on top. There were some challenges across the weekend, but we improvised, adapted and overcame, and by the end of the 2-day event, Adam from MPW loaded a startup tune into the Haltech ECU and we fired it up with the blower. Next stop was the MPW dyno, where Adam tweaked it up to fetch a safe 302 rear-wheel horsepower out of the otherwise stock engine. Odds are we'll look at modifying the engine for more grunt down the track, but first, I'm gonna race it. Here we are at Sydney Dragway. We had planned to race the car at Calder, had a couple of false starts due to bad weather, so we've dragged it north and we've lucked out with some really nice conditions to run the car today. Not much has changed since we spoke to you last, except for the fact that I spent a great deal of time finding the most mint condition used LC bonnet on all of Gumtree and cut a hole in it, which turned out to be completely unnecessary. The last time I raced this car at this track was a naturally aspirated 202 with a stick shift. It went 14.1 or 14.2 thereabouts, probably around 10 years ago. So hoping to PB tonight with any sort of luck. Really excited to see what the car is capable of with this Harrop blower. Well, the first hit was pretty much a complete and total disaster. The car's been running really well all day. We've been mucking around with it. Typical car, as soon as we take it to the track, it plays up. It was idling up around the $2,000 mark when I pulled up towards the beams. As soon as I was pulling it into gear, it was stalling. Finally got it to the line, and as soon as I breathed on the throttle, once it was staged, it pushed through the beams. Didn't get a time card, unfortunately, so we're kind of back to the drawing board. We're going to play with the adjustment on the idle on the throttle body and bring that down a bit, and hopefully head out and have a bit more luck on the second pass. Might need to come up a little bit.
Small, nice.
Well, we got beat at drag racing today, and if I'm honest, I'm pretty dejected. The car ran really well on the dyno, really well on the street. We were pretty confident that we were going to put down a half decent number tonight. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. We chased our tail all night with this mystery vacuum idle related problem, which we think is related to the throttle body. But long story short, this thing's going back on the trailer, back to the shed and back to the drawing board. So yeah, it's left us scratching our head a bit if we're completely honest, but we'll go and have a fiddle with it and we'll get back to the track as soon as we can.
Stalled again.
Away from the track and in the peace and quiet of my mate Liam's garage, the issue was traced to an intermittent problem with the TPS wiring, a hangover from one of the car's many previous rebuilds. Together with a slight vacuum leak between the throttle body and the blower, which was a quick and easy fix, we tested the car on the street and were quietly confident of a better outcome as we rolled through the gates at Sydney Dragway the following week. We're here at Sydney Dragway with the Torana, and we brought it along last Wednesday night and had some difficulties. We had some idling problems, some vacuum problems, some trouble sort of getting the car into stage, and we didn't really get a clean pass away. So hopefully during the week we've got those issues sorted, fingers crossed, and really looking forward to taking the beams and sending the car down the track tonight and seeing where we end up. Well, I've just climbed out of the car after the first pass, and to say that I'm stoked is an understatement. It's gone 12.00 at 116 mile an hour, 1.8 to the 60. It spun a bit on the hit, and also I'm up to gear change or two, I think. But yeah, all in all, really, really happy. I mean, obviously this thing's making every one of those 300 odd horsepower that it made on Adam's dyno to go 116 mile an hour. The car weighs just a fraction under 3,000 pound with me in it. So I think that's a really, really great result for, you know, what's effectively a $500 wrecker motor that we put this blower on top of. We're knocking on 11s straight off the trailer. Really, really happy. Looking forward to going for another lap. If we can break into an 11, I'll be doing cartwheels. After a pretty ordinary sort of first crack at this last week, to then be doing mid-11s on the second hit, I'm absolutely over the moon. Really, really happy. And we've lined up for another lap now, so maybe we can go quicker again, I'm not sure. But in any case, really, really wrapped.
How funny. That was kind of the plan.
Yeah. No, man, that was a good run.
Thank you. Cheers. Oh, no way.
What'd you trap that run?
116.
Yeah, right.
1.5 to the 60. Oh, how good. And dude, I hit the limiter on a shift.
Yeah, right.
Like, I reckon it's got 20 in it.
Oh,
How
man.
ridiculous.
Let's go not drink a bourbon in the pits.
Man. She's a funny old sport.
Yeah.
I was ready to jump off a bridge last time. 40s.
Today was a good day. We just went 11:40 at 116 mile an hour, so quicker again. The car went 1.5 to the 60 on a tiny little 225 radial off the foot brake, which I think is really impressive. And another thing to note is that it went 116 mile an hour on every single pass tonight, which is really, really consistent in terms of the trap speed on this thing. Really incredible when you start to think about the performance potential if we muck around with the engine in the car, which we haven't done at all just yet in the process. So really excited about exploring that, and also really excited about racking up some street miles in this thing, which is what we intend to do in the immediate future. And you'll see that on a future episode of Carnage.